Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council special meeting of January 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m. We have a quorum. I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me in a moment of silence. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. City Manager, you're going to lead us through this
Yes,
action
sir.
this evening, sir?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have two agenda items for your consideration this evening. The first is the CDBG FY19 grant performance, and we will also receive oral presentations from nonprofit agencies seeking CDBG FY21 grant funding. Annually, the Neighborhood Services Department is tasked with developing an action plan to administer the city's federal community development block grant. As part of this process, the department advertises requests for proposals to allocate funds to eligible nonprofit agencies or organizations providing public services in the community to assist the department in the administration and expenditure of program funds. Additionally, during the annual action plan process, the department provides an opportunity for public comment on the previous year's grant performance. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct a public hearing on the performance of the city's FY19 CDBG grant program year and to provide an opportunity for agencies and organizations seeking funding through the RFP process to provide a brief presentation on their request. Although the presentations are not mandatory to receive funding, staff has encouraged each agency applying for the funds to attend this meeting. And sir, I think we recommended that each one of these presentations be set at 5 minutes on the timer. And of course, Council, as you've done in the past, can certainly add additional time to those. But initially, each presenter has been told 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So with that, Ms. Franklin will provide a presentation to Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this meeting will begin the process of developing the city's next year annual action plan for our CDBG program. The plan, when developed, will state how we use our federal funds received from HUD, and we will also be receiving home grant funds through the Home Consortium with Brevard County. This will be the final action plan, just a note, a final action plan under the current 5-year plan that we have. Next year we'll begin a whole new 5-year cycle. So at tonight's meeting we have 2 sections for you. The first section will be our annual report that will go over FY 18-19, and then the second section of the meeting will be our request for funds, where we will hear from those agencies that are present tonight that have applied for funding for 2021. So I'd like to start off with Neighborhood Services and who we are. We do manage the city's federal and state grants. We have CDBG, home, our NSP grants, which we will be closing out this year, and our SHIP grants. These are federal and state grants that we receive to provide services and programs throughout the city. Our organizational chart, I just wanted to mention on it that we had some new hires this year, so you'll see some new names up there: our rehabilitation specialist, our planner, and administrative assistant. So the mission when developing our action plan with community development, you'll see here, is to provide supportive services for our citizens, to serve and maintain economic stability. We want to ensure that the programs are appropriate for the community. We consider a lot of information on the history, needs, demographics, and such. And we design those programs that address needs related to revitalization, housing, preservation, and services. So under revitalization, you'll see here that we want to focus our resources on small and targeted areas to achieve visible results. Under preservation, we focus on preserving and retaining existing housing stock. That will help to sustain or improve property values. We serve the needs of our citizens by focusing on a range of programs that will serve eligible low-income residents throughout the city and those that are targeted for specific needs. Our housing objectives, basically we have the rehab program that you're familiar with where we provide assistance to homeowners. On that program, we still have the cap of $60,000 that we provide through that program. That includes the actual cost of construction, administrative fees such as recording fees, storage, and staff support for those programs. So methods of implementation, we do have to consider the community's needs. We sent out community surveys for our next year plan. These went out in August of this, well, now 2019. Additionally, we held our first CDBG community meeting. That was back on November 14th, so that gives you an idea of how we implement those. Those are just more on implementation, our goals and objectives, and making sure that our initiatives are compatible with the mission. So we want to plan for change when we develop our action plan. The department embarked on a new initiative this past year. We held monthly meetings with the community stakeholders over the course of a year. We listen to their concerns, ideas, so that we can understand what their particular needs are when we develop the next plan. So we also look at our available resources. We analyze our staffing and availability and contractors. We inventory partners that we can do projects with. So just to refamiliarize ourselves with the CDBG program, those are federal funds. Up to 15% of those funds can be used for public services, which is from those agencies that are here tonight. You'll see our breakdown for administration. 70% has to serve low-income people, and then an example of what the funds can be used for. Under our home grant, those are also federal funds. We have to set aside 15% of those for CHOTO organizations, and we usually average about 6% in administration from the county. These funds can only be used for housing projects, and we use those funds to match to get our SHIP grant. So 18-19, this is what your revenues look like. I'm broken down between the CDBG and home program. You'll see that we had some carryover funds from 17-18. Those funds were carried over. They were allocated to programs and projects. They just didn't finalize at 9/30/19. So we show those as carryover funds. So the funds we expended in 18-19, you'll see that broken down by CDBG and home. The balance of the funds there between CDBG and home. On the home program, you'll notice we have a little higher than average balance of funds, and that's only because we have found it a little challenging to do home repairs with those funds because they're federal funds. We've run into some environmental issues with certain homes. So we're shifting those funds to our first-time homebuyer program, which is more flexible to spend those home funds with. So in 1819, we had two public service programs that were completed, our Meals on Wheels with Aging Matters and the Domestic Safe House with the Women's Center. We had two additional recipients that we managed last year. Those with, if you recall, the general funds that council set aside for the youth programs. We did have two youth programs that were completed with the general funds, and then we had another program that is still underway with another agency. Projects for last year, we completed two projects. We had another year of our NICE program, if you recall that. That is the Code Enforcement Neighborhood through Code Enforcement Improvement Program with code enforcement, and then we had our street resurfacing program. And there you see the funds that were expended for each of those. Our ongoing funded programs that have carried over from last year, the Neighborhood Revitalization Program and our home programs with that remaining balance of the home funds that you see there for rehab and first-time home buyer. Just to break down a little more on the accomplishments with the housing rehab program, we had 6 homes that were completed for that program. We had 2 families that were able to purchase their first home. Under public services of the agencies that were funded, we served a total of 1,531 Titusville residents. We resurfaced 1.4 miles of roadways, and we issued 148 citations, and 67 of those were corrected in the target area. So that kind of wraps up our annual performance report. If we have any questions on that portion, we'll be glad to answer them, or if there's anyone from the public that's...
I see no lights. Any council members want to have any questions? Go right ahead.
Just a couple of questions. You were talking about the housing program, and you said there were some environmental issues with those houses. So we are not required, or that's not part of the improvement if there are environmental issues?
We just shift those home to our other SHIP grant program that is a little more flexible to do those homes with. Okay. So they are getting assisted, just not with the home grant.
Okay, and then as far as the code enforcement is concerned, you said you had 67 code violations that were corrected, so what happened to the rest of them?
They were either ongoing at the time of the closeout of the year, or they were not corrected.
Okay, any of these have penalties, like monetary penalties at all?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing.
Is it me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I said, are these monetary penalties, or they just have to do the correction?
Just the correction.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Member Stokel?
Yep, thank you. Thank you for the information. I was just curious about when you were saying about the surveys and the community meetings, what kind of feedback were you guys getting from that?
Trying to remember exactly how many we sent out. Wasn't it like 3,000? We sent quite a few. We sent it to every address in the target area this year.
Okay.
So we sent out about 3,000, and unfortunately we didn't get that great of a response. I think we got back, do you recall?
It was like
It was under 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you remember? Kind of what they were wanting, or things they liked, didn't like?
Sure. Yeah. Some of the major complaints that complaints or issues
Concerns,
that we had had to do with drug activity.
Okay.
Streets, drainage. Do you remember?
parks.
And parks, I think. Park improvements.
Yes.
Okay. And then any interesting dialogue at the community meetings that were held that you
Well,
recall?
those community meetings were kind of geared more towards the next 5 years. So
Okay.
what we were discussing on is how to improve things and what our goals would be for the next 5 years. It wasn't so much on what has already been done. So
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
And I may have misunderstood, and that's probably why I'm asking, but while you were on slide 22, you noted
that you were having difficulties using the funds for repairs due to some federal environmental issues. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, so with federal funds, anytime we look at a home that was built before 1978, and as you can imagine, that's probably about 60% of the homes in Titusville.
I agree. Yeah.
There, we have to address lead-based paint. We have to address asbestos. We also cannot assist homes that are what HUD considers in a high noise area, so adjacent to railroad tracks, airports, large commercial facilities. So there's a lot involved with that. And when we get in there with the cap that we have of 60,000, it's hard to address all of those issues in an older home with the 60,000. So we end up shifting them over to another program where we don't necessarily have to consider the noise issues and the flood issues and things.
So basically, due to some federal environmental regulations, we're unable to repair and fund some of the repairs in those areas. All right.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Member Nelson?
Terry, educate me here, please. So if I look at the CDBG funds we're getting this year and what we're carrying over, it looks like 530 some odd thousand. Am I right?
So with CDBG, we carried over, what we're carrying over to this year?
Yeah.
80, just a little over 85,000.
Okay. So when I calculate that 15% that you can use for service projects, do I calculate 15% of that amount too?
No, it's restricted to the actual allocation that the city receives. So you cannot, because that money's already been counted once at the 15%
Okay.
restriction, you can't include it again.
Okay.
So it's just the grant allocation amount.
So the citizens are asking about parks, correct? Are there other things that they're asking for?
I think what we consistently hear is streets improvements, drainage improvements,
Crime.
and crime. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I see no other lights. Continue, please.
All right, before we move on to hearing from the agencies tonight, let me bring back up the presentation. Just wanted to go over our consolidated plan strategies. That is the criteria that we review the RFPs for to make sure that they meet one of the strategies in our consolidated plan. So you'll see those lined out here. It's basically to create suitable housing or provide public services or improve infrastructure and enhance safety and sustainability. This gives you a snapshot of the 10-year history of the grant funds the city has received from both CDBG and Home to kind of give you an idea of how the funds have fluctuated. You'll see we're starting back up and funds are starting to come back up to a level that we've seen about 10 years ago. Okay, so for next year, this is an estimated allocation. That 303 is what the city received this year. So we use that as a starting point. If you break that down, that's what you would see for administration. That would be your cap for public services. And the remaining balance would be for projects such as infrastructure of streets. Under the home program, the estimation is what we received this year. That is, administration is the amount the county gave to us. the set aside for Choto, which leaves about that much for your housing programs, $86,000. And that would, we recommend going into the first-time home buyer program. I guess that is for that one. So what I'd like to do is call each of the agencies that are here tonight, and we can hear from them. They are the ones that have applied for funding this evening. Unless there's any other questions before we move on.
I see none.
Okay.
Proceed, please.
All right, we have representatives from Aging Matters in Brevard here this evening.
Names and addresses for the record, please, gentlemen.
Good evening, Council. My name is Craig Edmondson-Wood.
Name and address.
Craig Edmondson-Wood. I live at 7686 Fringe Place, Port St. John.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Josh Jensen, 2016 Thessie Drive in Melbourne.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry about that. I totally missed that.
That's fine. Proceed.
Council, my name is Craig Edmondson-Wood. I'm the Program Director of the Brevard Senior Nutrition Program at Aging Matters. I'm responsible for the Brevard Community Kitchen, Meals on Wheels, and Seniors at Lunch nutrition programs. In a moment, I'm going to introduce Josh Jensen, our President and CEO, is going to go over a brief introduction, and then I'm going to go into the specifics of our proposal as well as goals and outcomes. So I'll turn it over to our President and CEO of Aging Matters in Brevard, Josh Jensen.
Good evening, Council. Projections through 2030 indicate that the population of 65 and older is going to increase by 53% in Brevard County, and the 85-plus age group is going to increase by 69%. And those projections are really putting a strain on our already tight program, as well as our ability to meet the needs throughout the county. In 2019, we served 166 clients in Titusville, and we have 46 clients currently on the waiting list, and that waiting list continues to grow. In North Brevard, including Titusville, we have 19 Meals on Wheels routes and about 95 volunteers that deliver each meal. And they pick up the food at the Tire Kingdom on US 1, and the food is prepared in the COCO kitchen, Brevard Community Kitchen. And to meet some of the needs of the CDBG requirements, 93% of the seniors that we served in Titusville meet the HUD income guidelines for low income. So, I'll let you.
So during fiscal year 2020-2021, the Brevard Senior Nutrition Program is proposing to serve 3,333 meals to 20 unduplicated seniors in the city of Titusville. Each individual is projected to receive 167 meals at $3 at a cost of $3 each, an amount that supplements the Older Americans Act, the OAA federal funding that we receive. Funds from Titusville will be used only on purchasing those foods and supplies. Administrative fees, salaries, fuel for trucks, etc., are covered specifically by the OAA funding. It's not included in the $10,000 that we're asking. Daily food costs per program participant currently at Aging Matters for our Meals on Wheels program and Seniors at Lunch is $8.65. Funding through OAA, through federal funding, our reimbursement's actually $5.65 per meal. We make up the difference of that through alternative funding sources, including CDBG funding, as well as donations and other sources. Our measurable goals and outcomes, we've identified two goals. Goal number one, the program will serve 20 unduplicated CDBG eligible clients with 3,333 meals in the city of Titusville with home delivered meals on wheels, as well as Seniors at Lunch congregate dining. Goal number two, participants in Meals on Wheels and Seniors at Lunch will be less isolated and lonely. Which is one of our number one goals outside of simply providing the nutritional aspect of the program. The outcomes we have three. 65% of the clients will self-report that they eat a more well-balanced meal because of participating in this program. Outcome number 2, 60% of the clients will self-report that the meals provided have helped improve their nutrition. And outcome number 3, 60% of the clients will self-report that they feel less lonely and isolated due to daily visits from either a volunteer or by participating at the Seniors at Lunch program. And that is the conclusion of our presentation.
All right, any questions? Yes, we have some lights.
We have
Member
46
Jordan,
seconds left.
please.
All right. I appreciate you all being here for sure. And I actually participated in the Meals on Wheels, actually delivering the food. And it is very rewarding to do that because a lot of times the seniors, that's the only time they see anyone to talk to them and all of that. So it's very much appreciated what you all are doing. But first question I have is how do you find the people that you want to service?
Either via public outreach. Obviously, the majority of our funds go into serving seniors, both nutrition as well as in-home services for the agency. So it's not like we have an advertising budget. So mostly it's through outreach, word of mouth, working with other community partners and stakeholders, essentially, to take those referrals and to reach out.
Okay, and the second question, it was interesting. You said that they would actually identify or let you all know if, the communication is better for them or, positive things has happened. How do you get them to do that?
So essentially there's two kind of outcomes that we look for. One is through an annual assessment that we give the clients, all of our clients, which lets us get a general assessment of their overall health and well-being. It would be a really nice metric to look at if we could just say, well, this was their nutrition scores. This is how they were doing last year. So if we just look at it this year, you would hope to see that they're getting better because we're providing services. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with an aging population, that's not always an honest reflection. So to kind of provide perspective, what we do is every year we launch a massive campaign through all of our programs at Aging Matters, asking for their input about what the program means to them. We try to keep it very brief so that we can get as objective feedback as we can. And that really it's one of the ways that they can most effectively report back to us how we're doing and where we can improve.
Okay.
So the outcomes that I talked about that we include on our surveys are
Right.
just some of the questions that we ask.
Okay.
Specific to.
So you're actually proactive in asking the question. When you say self-report, to me, that's a proactive side on the client side reporting back to you. So I just couldn't understand how they self-report.
Yeah, that's correct. So we evaluate from an assessment standpoint.
Okay.
But then we look to the surveys and their responses to kind of give us perspective.
So your focus is to survey at least 60% of the clients that you serve? And that's how you come up with the 60%?
Yes, at a minimum. And to provide some perspective, so last year, on outcome number 1, 65% of the clients would self-report that they eat a more well-balanced meal. In 2019, the respondents, 83% of our clients reported that they eat a more well-balanced meal. For outcome 2, the question was that they're going to report that that the meals have helped improve their overall nutrition, and 79. The outcome that the threshold we're looking for is 60%. Last year was 79% was the self-reporting number. And then outcome number 3 was the clients will self-report that they feel less lonely and isolated by participating in either the Meals on Wheels program, and that would be the interaction they have with their drivers, which, to your point, may not only be the only meal they get all day, but that's maybe the only human contact they have all day. So our threshold is 60%, and last year 91% reported that positive impact on their lives. So this request for the $10,000, it is important to help us to continue. Again, it's the meals that we're providing aren't $3 a piece. When you break it down over the 167 clients. It just helps us offset some of the overall costs. Again, the federal funding, I think there's a big misconception, at least in the public side, that it's all federally funded at no cost, and unfortunately that is absolutely not the case. So federal funding only covers, in this case, 565. The rest were responsible for coming up with CDBG, donations, whatever income streams that I can funnel into my programs. So
what's your budget for the year? How do you do that?
I don't have our budget information for the year. Can you speak to that? Or?
So the federal government allocates us a hard dollar amount through the
Right.
Older Americans Act, which I believe last year was about 3.5 million. And we are required to fundraise or receive through grants like this, 10% of that locally in order to receive that full funding. Another reason why the CDBG is so important.
Okay. All right. So you're only saying 3,000 members in North Brevard, but you actually go to other municipalities and ask for the same amount?
We receive CDBG funds from the cities of Palm Bay, Melbourne, Cocoa, and Titusville.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Member Nelson?
This is real short, and I know you said this, but I can't write that fast.
Okay.
So, the number of people that you served last year in Titusville was what?
166 clients.
And this year you're planning on serving how many?
167.
166 last year and 167 this year? Okay. Okay, thank you.
And it's basically just the math from the $10,000 by the $3 cost to kind of offset some of our costs. So
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to put an exclamation point behind what you're saying, because my mom, who's passed away now, was receiving Meals on Wheels, and I can tell you, she got to a point where I don't want to say she forgot to eat, but she would forget to eat, and we could make something for her. We'd make something, every day, but if Meals on Wheels, she wouldn't eat it. We'd come over and check after work, and why didn't you eat that? Well, I forgot. But when we got her on Meals on Wheels, she ate it. And like you said, and I can't say this enough, the other people coming to see her, as far as she was concerned, they were just coming to see her. And they just happened to have food with them. So I just can't say enough about the program you do. There are, and it's almost scary, the projections you have for our county becoming elderly. Some of us are elderly getting there, but
Be careful.
the point I'm making is you see it, but boy, when you put those numbers down there, that's very concerning, and certainly your program will become more and more important for people like my mom. So I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, gentlemen, unless you have something else you'd like to talk about.
No, thank you for your
Thank you very
consideration.
much.
Thank you.
If you will call the next one.
Our next organization, do we have anyone from early learning? We don't have anyone present from early learning. South Brevard Women's Center?
Name and
Good
address
evening.
for the record, ma'am, please.
Becky Lemstrom, and our office is at 1565 Sarno Road, Melbourne. We also have one here on Julia Street in Titusville.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thanks to all of you for your help over the years, and thanks also to these other agencies that are here. I love coming to these presentations and seeing what's going on with the community, because there's a lot of good going on. With your help in 2018, 2019, the Women's Center was able to provide 6588 services to 1,372 Titusville residents who are victims of violence. Examples of the services that were provided were shelter in our safe house, crisis counseling, personal advocacy, crisis hotline counseling for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, assistance with injunctions for protection, and victim compensation claims. I think most of you were here last year, but if you're not familiar with the Women's Center, we've been in Brevard County since 1975, I've been here in Titusville since 2010. We're proud to be able to help over 10,000 clients annually. And our name is the Women's Center, but I always like to say that we help women, men, and children. Our percentage of male clients range between 5 and 9%, depending on the particular program that we happen to be surveying. The need to continue to assist victims of violence is demonstrated through the 2018 FDLE Uniform Crime Report. That's the most complete report that's available right now. And that showed that there were 472 domestic violence offenses within the city in that time period. And our Safe House is a needed facility for women and their children who are in imminent danger. It not only provides a safe shelter for them, but it also provides services for the women and children who are there at the time. We provide advocacy services, all the services I just listed that we helped with, the advocacy, counseling, helping someone move from a time of crisis, plan their next step, and figure out the best route for them. Our Safe House here in Titusville is at an undisclosed location. It's a converted 3-bedroom home that has 3 standalone kind of apartments within the house. It's not a dormitory type setting. So there's a bedroom and bathroom for each family. That allows us to have women and their children, including male children who are aged to 18, or if they're still in high school, to 19, to be able to stay together. A lot of times in shelters, those male children would have been kept out. The Women's Center has 4 programs: our Victim Services Program, our Counseling Program, a Self-Sufficiency Program, and a Youth Program. And we encourage our clients to take advantage of all of those because they're all wraparound services meant to help someone who's coming in a crisis develop a self-sufficiency plan so they can move on, help themselves, be self-sufficient, and not have to return to their abuser. The average stay in the Safe House is about 2 months, although it ranges from 1 day to maybe 4 months. It just depends where the client is when they come in to see us. You know, if they come in just, sometimes the police department will bring someone will come from the ER, just an overnight stay till they can get in contact with family and friends and find someone to help them out. But sometimes we get clients that don't have family and friends in town, and they don't really have any, they don't have a bank account, they don't have a job, they don't have any way to help themselves. So, of course, it takes them longer. And the great part about our Safe House is that we don't have a time constraint. We can't have someone staying forever, but we can certainly give them time so they can go to the best place for them. We track our clients after they leave at 3, 6, and 12 months to try to find out how they're doing and if they've returned to their abuser, or, just make sure they're safe. At 3 months, we have a good rate of about 86% of the clients. We can't contact all of the clients, but of those that we can, about 86% are doing well. And it falls to about 76% at 12 months. But we're always there to help them. Our program meets all of the city's consolidated plan guidelines for what you guys are looking for, and 100% of our clients are extremely low or low income, meeting the HUD guidelines. So that's all I've got. Do you have any questions?
Sounds like a lot to me. So that's all right.
I think I said it all that I meant to say.
Yes, we do. Member Jordan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I was sitting here thinking, and I realized, I better not get emotional, but my sister was involved in something like this, and luckily she had a brother who stepped in and was able to rescue her from the foolishness that was going on. But it is just unfortunate when women and men have to go through something like this, for sure. And
It's terrible, and when you've known someone or you've seen someone. I know that not long after I started working with the center, I came up to the Julia Street office and was just doing some paperwork, and there was these 2 little boys. They were like 4 and 5. And I've got 2 sons, and so I was like, oh, yeah, I remember when my kids were that little. And they just kept playing and, like, going through stuff. And finally, I'm like, well, what are they doing? Why are they here? There wasn't, I didn't see anyone with them. I knew they didn't belong to the staff. they're like, oh, they came in last night, their mom's over here, getting counseling. They're just trying to find some toys and stuff to take because they had to leave their house. And, that just broke my heart because I'm seeing, my boys, there, and thank God they don't have that situation. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's Agent Matters is a good organization. You have a great organization for sure. But I got a little confused when you said, I shouldn't say confused, but kind of concerning. You said there is a income level that you're dealing with?
So for CDBG clients, it's mandatory.
Just for that. Okay.
But
you serve every
yeah, so all of our CDBG clients would fit those income guidelines.
Okay.
If we had our shelter is a good shelter, but if you have a choice of going to a friend's house or coming to a shelter where you don't really know what's going to happen, you're going to go to your friend's house.
Right.
And so we don't get a lot of more middle income or higher income clients just because they have other resources.
Right.
But certainly we would take them in. And we have had those situations. I can think of a Brevard County school teacher that was brought to us by the police and was in that situation and needed to be kept safe until her assailant was found and arrested. So they came, can she stay with you guys for a little while?
Right.
And so she was not a low income client, but she stayed with us for a couple days.
That makes sense for sure. The last thing I'm going to say is it's kind of interesting, and I watched my sister go through this thing, and I've seen a lot on TV about this and the experiences that abused spouses have, and it's amazing the number who would go right back to the same situation again.
Yeah, we have clients so we also have a transitional safe housing unit. We have one in Melbourne and one in Palm Bay. And so those clients will come in and talk to us a lot. And gosh, the times that they spent before they decided this is it is it's heart-wrenching, and it's just what it is. And we're always there when they're ready because they work with our advocates for years sometimes before making the change. And but we we always encourage them to leave, but it's always their choice, because that's empowering to them. We don't want to be, we want to show them a way, but it's got to be their choice, and it's empowering for them to have made that decision on their own, not because someone told them to.
Well, I appreciate your heart and appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah,
Sure, so
no
thanks.
problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor Diesel?
The numbers you gave of people that you help in Titusville on a yearly basis is very sad, but it's very appreciated that you're there for them. The first thing I thought when I heard the numbers was like, wow, that's a fantastic job you're doing. Then I thought, whoa, that's terrible to have to do that. So I appreciate you being there. You noted that you follow up 3, 6, and 12 months, and I believe it was like 83% are doing well.
At about the 6-month range.
Okay, okay. And what about the 12-month range?
12, it's about 76. It drops off.
Okay, so
the
that
further
means
you go.
about a quarter.
And then also you can't contact as many people, so your
I get
sample
that.
size gets lower also.
Okay, well, let's go to 6 months. If they're not doing well at 6 months, you've surveyed them and they're not doing well, do you have an interaction there?
Well, we always invite them back, not necessarily to stay at the safe house, but come back, if they're not ready for that, but come back for more advocacy and, counseling and try to
Okay,
help them.
and so at 12 months, that's the last time you'll survey them or find them. Do you do the same thing then at 12 months?
Yeah, and their case file will stay open until we can't contact them. I think they have like a 6-month, time frame. And so it's not that we're not working with them. That's just the last point that we survey.
Okay, and there's no shut-off time. They go to 14 months and something happens.
Oh, always welcome, always welcome.
Okay, well, I appreciate what you do. You did say something about a transitional
Transitional
housing
safe
in
housing.
Palm Bay and Melbourne. Nothing here.
No, there's talk of one. We have a lot of interest in it, and we'd love to have one. Those are very, they're expensive to operate, frankly.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, because, you have ours in Melbourne and Palm Bay are there are apartment type facilities. We have 13 units, and maintaining 13 apartments, it takes a lot of maintenance. Like a lot of times we'll say, we have people that will say, we'll give you a house and you can convert it to a transitional housing facility, and that's kind of the cheap part.
When you say there's talk of that, yeah, there's talk of it. Is there something we're working with in Titusville? Is there a discussion over there in our departments over
I
there?
don't have any discussion with Terry, but we have a lot of private citizens that have contacted us that know our history and are encouraging us to move in that direction.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll just end with it. 6 months, you have 83% are doing well. At a year, the ones you can find, about 3/4 are. Mm-hmm. That might mean that we would do well to work towards a transitional house in the north area.
Yeah. And I do want to say that the numbers, we always hope to work ourselves out of a job, but the numbers have been decreasing over the last several years.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Anyway,
the
so that's always,
we're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's always good to know. So,
Well.
So the numbers have decreased. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Member Nelson?
So this is easy. How much are you looking for?
Oh my gosh. Well, to get started, my goodness.
Well, let's start with how much do you want this year? Let's do that.
So
first.
this to help with the safe house expenses, we're just asking for $16,400. If you're talking about a transitional housing project,
That's a lot more.
Yeah, the maintenance. Yeah, the problem is old buildings. That's what our apartments in Melbourne and Palm Bay, ones, built in '59, and
back to the environmental problems.
environmental problems. Plumbing's different in busts, and
The electrical's different.
the electrical. Yeah.
So the 16.4 would be specifically for the safe house?
It's for the safe house.
And that's to continue operating it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I see, thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
I see no further lights. Terry, if you will call the next presenter.
All right, our last agency is Victory Kids Sports.
Good evening, sir. Name and address
Good
for the
evening.
record, please.
How are you? Stanley Patton from Victory Kids Sports Foundation. Our address is 1270 North Wickham Road, Suite 16-802 in Melbourne, Florida.
That's for the overhead.
Okay. Thank you so much. And to the mayor, and to the vice mayor, and to all of the distinguished councilmen and councilwomen, thank you so much for your consideration today. Again, as you know, my name is Stanley Patton. Normally, I'm not the person to do this. Normally, Dr. Melissa Patton is normally here. She is our CEO. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer. That just means that I get to think of all the cool ideas, but she is really the brains and the systems person behind what we do and the engine behind what we do. But she's on the fundraising trail all over the nation right now. She's in Iowa right now, and she'll be in Los Angeles, California, and then both of us will be there next week. And so it is fundraising season, so thank you again for your consideration. Well, in case you don't know exactly who we are, Victory Kids Sports is a sports organization that was founded with a very systemic mission. And our mission is really to impact children through sports, and we accomplish this by teaching and demonstrating teamwork, discipline, and fun, mentorship, and psychoeducation to support and empower the whole child. In addition to that, our vision is really simplistic in nature. We believe that if we can empower children who are underrepresented, exposed to substance abuse or addiction, homeless, or in transition and poverty, we can destigmatize some of the mental health issues that we see in our particular county and even beyond that. We have psychoeducational programming that supports children social and emotionally, and we use sports as well as STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, fine arts, we call it, in order to really impact all of our people. So who is Victory really? Well, we exist on a lot of different playing fields, metaphorically speaking, but we also have Camp Victory, which is our seasonal camp experience. We have spring break, winter camp, and summer camp experiences for children all over the county and even out of the state of Florida. We have after-school leagues where we actually go to various schools, pick them up with transportation, bring them back to a designated facility and actually perform, whether it's extracurricular activities like sports or science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We have school enrichment programs where we are a vendor inside of the schools of Brevard County and beyond, and we offer Victory Kids experiences. It could be basketball, it could be martial arts, it could be soccer, it could be whatever that school is looking for. We also have physical literacy. We kind of call that rent a PE teacher. And that's essential because a lot of schools are getting rid of physical education and are starting to look at other methodologies in order to try to have some type of fun experience for kids, and that supports what we call the 21st Century Department of Education grant. We also have the Victory Olympics, which seem to be very huge in this particular area. A lot of schools can't afford or don't want to have some type of field day experience, but it's kind of a good way to get a lot of kids, parents, community leaders together to come alongside. We come alongside in order to perform that particular service, and it offers positive behavior intervention and support, or what we call PBIS. And then we're also developing national branding to develop unrestricted revenue streams, and our whole model is about making sure that we have multiple streams of income. Who do we impact? Well, we impact all of the county. We impact everybody as far as Titusville, all the way to Palm Bay and beyond. Title I schools and private pay families. We are kind of a multi-layered, multifaceted organization. We support kids who come from various difficult backgrounds and kids who need less competition in their life and more encouragement and love from coaches who are patient. And this is a milestone year for us. We are 3 years old coming up in March. And so that's really exciting for us. Brand new, kind of on the horizon here, and we kind of hit the ground running. And so we've served several hundred children countywide. Just this last year, we served thousands nationally. We have winter, spring, summer break camps in multiple locations. We have partnerships with several social agencies and organizations, as well as churches. One very prominent church right on down the street, Indian River United Methodist Church, has been a very strategic partner of ours, so we thank them for all of the help that they have provided for us. We also have key partnerships with Brevard Public Schools, hosting Victory Days. That's kind of our experience where we go in and do a school takeover. We've received multiple grants from a multifaceted group of organizations. We have partnerships with universities and colleges outside of the state of Florida as well as inside the state of Florida, and we're developing stronger unrestricted revenue forms. And we just launched a brand new website. So again, thank you for your grant. We did receive a grant last year, and our partnership was based at Campbell Community Center. It was an awesome experience for us to be able to go into that community. There are so many families that have needs in that particular area. My time is up.
That's right. Do you need more time?
Yeah, give me
right
2
ahead.
minutes. Can I have 2 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And so we had a full year of programming where that consisted of a fall and a spring league. It was 6 weeks apiece, and we got to see a lot of kids. We had a whole lot of fun with them, exposing them to our STEAM products and things that we did with them. In addition to that, we kept a lot of kids off the streets that were literally feral. There are a lot of kids in that particular neighborhood that were in transition or had problems or had been kicked out of school, and so we were able to come alongside Campbell Community Center, work with them strategically in order to really try to raise the level of the child in that particular area. We transported kids back and forth from that particular area back to Campbell. We were invited to several of Campbell events last year, and we host a lot of events in Titusville. So our plan this year, as we're looking to receive funding for this year, we're looking to create kind of the same type of deal where we would have 2 6-week-long seasons where we would provide homework support because many of the kids just have not done their homework, and so we want to have sports and STEAM activities based on that. Last year, they were able to grow plants. They were able to see robots being built. They had some type of engineering kind of components that they were able to put together also, and so we really loved doing that with children. We're looking to develop at least 75 children this particular year, but we're not asking for the city of Titusville to fund all 75 children. We're just asking for a piece of that. We're asking for you to support 36 children, and we will figure out how to raise the rest for the rest of the 39 children. And the total cost for the program is $220 per child for the year 4 programming. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay. Member Jordan, please.
All right, thanks for your presentation. Got a few questions for you. How many did you serve last year?
We served over 100 families last year.
So is this a family program or a children's program?
It's a children's program,
Okay.
so we served over 100 children. Let me be more
100,
specific.
Okay. And it was 100 here in Titusville?
Yes.
Okay.
At the Campbell Community Center.
At the Campbell, okay. One of the things you say, what is your budget for?
What did we budget for this
Yeah.
particular program?
No, for your whole organization. What are we talking about?
I don't have the numbers for the entire organization. Again, that's split up into various different types of things. But what we're looking for here is $14,590 for this program.
So you're located in all of Brevard County, is what you're saying?
We have programming in all of Brevard County.
And the reception has been good to what you've been doing?
Absolutely.
And
Yes, sir.
how many did you serve last year in Titusville?
Over 100
Over 100.
children.
Okay.
And that's just with this particular program. That's not counting some of our school-based programs where we see hundreds of kids. And so we're just talking about this particular program in which you guys are potentially maybe funding in the future.
Okay, so it's a $220 per child times the 30, what'd you say, 36?
Yes, sir.
Is that how you came up with your number?
That is
I didn't
correct.
multiply, so I don't.
Yeah, yes.
Is that what you did?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Well, you checking? All right. Okay. All right. What did we give you last year?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. But we had amendments last year. We had 2 amendments last year.
The initial was 15,000, and then we increased that another 4,800, I believe.
That
So,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was based on the number of kids that they were going to service?
Yes,
Is that
and
what
the
it was?
performance, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
We were asked to serve longer.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
You were asked to serve longer where?
At Campbell Community Center.
Okay, so the amendment was for Campbell Community Center. Okay, that's very good. I can tell you as a member, and having been a member of several boards at IRC, United Methodist Church, that the feedback has been very positive at the church. But I don't know this answer. How many kids at IRC Methodist did you serve?
None fit within that particular setting, but the IRC is a private paid league that helps us to fund some of the
Okay.
program that is at Campbell Community Center.
All right, very good. So what do you find to be, in your going into your 3rd year, the biggest issues that you have faced?
The biggest issues that we face have been the systemic issues of the neighborhood that we're serving, in which there are a lot of children that don't have family systems. They're not nuclear. They're very transitional in terms of being able to reach families or communicate with people. So we do a lot of picking up, dropping off kinds of things. The other problem that we faced was a lot of the kids don't have adequate clothing. And by that I mean we would see kids that didn't have shoes. And so Dr. Melissa is actually at a meeting right now with Under Armour, seeing if we can try to provide some type of athletic apparel for some of the children. The kids would show up with socks on, no shoes, or maybe the shoes were 2 and 3 sizes way too big or too small. One family had 1 pair of shoes between 3 kids. So it's kind of hard to play kickball with one family. It's got to trade out shoes every time there's an opportunity for those kinds of things. And so we would see just cyclical homelessness kinds of problems.
Wow, very good. Very, again, kind of like the last presenter, that's kind of sad to hear. I can't tell you I'm not aware of a lot of that. I've been in education 37 years now, and it's there. And we're doing our best. So I appreciate that. And I think you would be part of us doing our best, because you are just another arm out there to reach the kids you're just talking about.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm glad that we do the amendments as we needed to, because, they're in a place where we need to support them, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Member Stokel?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a couple questions just to clarify the numbers. So you guys are asking for 14,590, and you said that's to service 36 children. So if we were to approve that amount, we could
Increase that?
get. Well, no, but
Next
okay.
Already done it. We have precedent. I'm just kidding.
No, I know. So, okay, so doing the math on that, that's roughly $405 a person.
And so there are other things that come into play with that, and so I can
Okay.
give you an exact breakdown of what that looks like. And so from a personnel standpoint, That is $2,970. There are also fees to participate for 36 children times 12 weeks, and that's another $7,920 for those fees. There are supplies that come into, because like I said, everything that we do is custom for that particular neighborhood and for that group of people, and that's very expensive in order to expose those kids to STEAM-related projects, and that comes down to $950. Insurance, because we're transporting people back and forth, as well as we're in partnership with the county, and so we want to make sure that nothing gets broken. We're liable for those kinds of things because we are providing that type of service on county grounds, and so the insurance is $1,900 just for that. There's printing costs because this is not an email type of community. You can't just send something out to kids electronically because parents don't get it. And so we have to do a lot of going to various places like Walmart, Family Dollar, Family Tree, in order to really try to get people on board with the program and actually physically have them write things down. So there's a lot of printing cost that goes with that. $350. There's a lot of phone calls that happen from our main headquarters. We have projected costs for that. And then there's resources that we pour back into the actual city of Titusville. We've received grants from Just Pairs. We've received other grants in order to make sure that our program is cost effective for even groups like grandparents raising grandchildren. We let them come free of charge, no price or anything like that. And we don't turn any children away.
Okay. So I guess I'm just wondering how you were, with 19,800 last year, how you were able to service 100 kids, because that breakdown's 198 a student. So how were you, did you have additional resources that went into that in addition to? Okay, so you were able to serve over 100 kids with our funds plus outside funds. Okay, that's what I was curious about. Okay, and I'm hopeful that you're going to get your additional money, but if you don't, you're still doing this. You would still be doing this program with what you are given.
Absolutely. Okay. Like I said, our funding, we know it doesn't cover all the costs of the program. That's the reason why we're on kind of the campaign fundraising trail right now, in order to kind of make it feasible and viable as an option. Because, again, our heart is really in this project. We want to make sure that the kids in this particular neighborhood have some awareness, because if we can get them off the street early, we can probably save their life later.
Yeah. Now, well, I definitely see the results of people going in, and especially like with the homework. You think, oh, that's such a simple thing, but it actually, going back into the public school system, private school, goes a long way to helping them be successful. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Member Nelson.
Well, first I want to say I appreciate what you do, but you have me totally confused.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll see what I can clarify.
See if you can straighten me out. And I agree, kids are not cheap. But we're
spoken like someone that's had kids.
Yeah, for those of us that have raised kids and those of us who are working with kids, they're not cheap. So you're asking for $220 for each kid, and you're talking 36 kids.
Correct. We know that we're going to serve more than that. Our ask is always to try to make sure that we don't ask for the full amount for all the kids, because we want to have skin in the game and also want to raise resources from various sources in order to kind of make it, like I said, viable. And so we're only asking for a piece and a portion of what it really costs to do the total program. We know that we're going to serve more than the 36. We know that we're probably going to serve more than the 75. We already know that coming in. But we try to take a humble approach and to kind of make it look like we are at least invested into the community by developing multiple streams of income in order to raise awareness for this particular project.
Got that. I understand that part. How did you come up with $14,590?
Well, the breakdown, again, is through personnel, fees to participate, supplies, insurance, printing, and then telephone costs, and that came to the $14,590.
Okay. So it's $220 plus these are the additional expenses added on.
No, this is the whole total cost of the program.
Okay. Got it.
All right.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Jordan.
Yeah. Just a couple more questions, because I'm with Member Nelson. I got a little confused with the number. I hear what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I agree with what you're doing. If you're in front of an audience who like you and we want to give you money, I was just wondering, you're talking about 100 kids, but you're only wanting us to help you with 36 kids. And as Member Stoker was saying, it's really $403 per student. I'm just trying to, and I understand you're saying the whole program.
Correct.
And in my mind, I would ask for more from the city than just
less.
Right. And I understand the humbleness and all that stuff, but you can't buy anything with humbleness. You know, if you're trying to, help some kids, to me, I would think that you would ask for more. And you also, and also, to me, it's going to cause you more work because you're going to be asking from other people. And some of them are going to say no to you, for sure. So you're going to have to ask more people. But that's what you want to do, then so be it. But I'm still trying to understand how you actually was able to do this. So my assumption is you did raise enough money last year to serve 100 people. Did
Correct.
you raise more than what you needed for the 100 people, or you just barely got there?
As a nonprofit, you always barely get there, and I think that that's the sentiment of everybody in this room. You just figure out how to make it work. You barely get there. And the reason why we do what we do is because we do have a heart for this particular neighborhood. There's a lot of systemic issues in this particular neighborhood, and we want to be kind of a group of people that could come in, not with a savior complex, but we want to just help. And so we come bearing gifts at the same time. Like I said, this year we're trying to get shoes for some of the kids and apparel for some of the kids because they just don't have. They just don't have. And so we just try to make it work. That's the best thing that I can tell you.
Okay, last question for you. I'm looking at Coquina Elementary, and it looks like you got a lot of kids there. So what happened last year and the year before?
We provide, Coquina is a separate program, so we provide what we call a Victory Day experience at Coquina, as well as in Mims Elementary, Oak Park, some of the other schools in this particular area. We would come in and do a school takeover. So in Coquina's program, we would have 200 kids at one time. Okay, and we would be there a couple of times a week or whatever. And so it was an opportunity for us really to just get into a school, participate in Brevard Public Schools program throughout that day, provide some type of service program, and just tell them about being good students. We would have people from the community come in and actually speak to the students about challenging them to go on and beyond what their circumstances are so they can be productive citizens in Titusville and beyond.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Member Stokel.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to clarify, the math one more time
Uh-oh.
to make sure we're all on the same page. From what I'm understanding, the $14,590 is to help 36 kids at a cost of a little over $400 is what you're asking from us. So if we were to do that, we could successfully help 36 kids. Your guys' part, or where you're going to look for outside sources, would help to fund the additional 39 to reach your
Correct.
target of 75 kids.
That's correct.
Okay, so in theory, each kid would the cost would be a little over 400. So we would do 36. You would go find funding for 39.
39, right.
Okay, that I can understand. All
Okay.
right, thank you.
All right. Arithmetic class.
Bring your calculators. If that's all you have, sir, that's,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Our next, that is it for our agencies that have applied this year. Now, for the infrastructure portion of the program, if we can have the next PowerPoint. So if you recall back when we were going over the revenues, we have about $197,000 after public services and admin that can be used for infrastructure type programs. So for 2021, the Neighborhood Services Department is requesting to continue our neighborhood revitalization program. That's kind of our umbrella that we use to do our infrastructure and other programs within the community. So our South Street target area, if you, what page is that on your agenda? So you can get a better close-up, is page 43. That is the South Street target area for 2021. The boundaries have changed a little bit from last year, and that's due to new census data put out by HUD. We did lose a small area of the target boundaries, but the area that we're more familiar with along the De Leon corridor remains within that target area. So the Public Works Department is seeking this year to continue the resurfacing program. Those are the listed streets that are targeted for 2021. And the cost associated with that, which is approximately 1.8 miles. Considering the balance of funds that we will have, if you do the calculations, if the grant funds stay consistent with this year, we'll be a little short on that. So this list may change once we get further into that. Kevin Cook is here from Public Works if you have any particular questions on the streets program. And then for also what we would like to do, last year we started for next year setting aside $30,000, and that will what we like to call our Pride Beautification Program in the community. If you're wondering what Pride stands for, we have people, resources, initiative, determination, and empowerment. And what we would like to do is start working on some of those beautification cleanup campaigns from the community that they have shown interest in wanting to do in the particular target area. So that is what we have for city projects, is streets and the beautification program with the remainder of the funds. If there's any questions.
Member Jordan?
Thank you, sir. I can't read this map. It's just way too small
I
for
know.
sure. So I don't know if it's my age or what, but De Leon Street, you're going from Garden Street to Hopkins. What is that? Harrison. Thank you. Is that what you're doing? So there is this new apartment building on De Leon. Beautiful apartment building. Beautiful apartment building. Sure would like for that place to stay that way for sure. So my question is there, would that be an area where we could expand to make the other areas I won't say comparable, but do some type of beautification to continue what they've already started?
That is our hope and plan to do with the money that we're asking to put in the Pride program, along with what was allocated this year, is start those beautification efforts along De Leon, along in conjunction with the street improvements that we're working through that area. So yes, we're going to start working on cleaning up that area, doing some landscaping, some signage, benches and things like that through
Okay,
that.
there are sidewalks on that side, right?
Yes.
North of that and south of that for sure. South of the new development. I think there's some on the west side.
I think we extended the sidewalk in that area a few years back with CDBG. Yeah.
Okay. So we're thinking about doing resurfacing of that area.
Yeah, for we have the De Leon, the north side of De Leon for 2021, and then we'll way down through the remainder of De Leon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Member Stokel?
Thank you. We were able to demolish several homes last year. Can you explain, are we allowed to use grant funds with that or part of this budget for projects like that?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
There is some criteria that goes along with that, as
Okay.
always with HUD. But yes, you can do the elimination of those type of properties
Okay.
that are deemed.
Is that something that is on the radar? With-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because also I was going to point out, in addition to those beautiful apartments, there's some that are not so, that I know if there's something we could do, I'd really like to work on that area if possible.
Yeah. We've actually been in discussion with code enforcement. They maintain the list, so we're working through that list and seeing what we can do with CDBG.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I see no more lights. Right on.
One of the concerns I have is actually with the Inspiration Park. Is there a way, who actually owns that? Inspirational
Are we talking about Inspiration, the
Village?
subdivision?
Inspiration, yeah, Village.
Oh, okay.
Who owns that?
Well, the homeowners association owns the common properties, and then each individual home owns their own lot.
Okay, one of the concerns I have is it was a great project because if you remember what we had before, it was pretty dilapidated and everything, but to me, it's just not maintained properly. I actually call that crooked fence road, because the fence is all dilapidated and all that, but it's really nothing we can do about that because that's private property, right?
Well,
Sounds like you have more of an answer in you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, tell us.
I mean, we can always encourage the homeowners, to make improvements in that area.
Well, I just see palm trees that are unkept, the grass is unkept, the fence is unkept, and it's such a nice little area, but it's just not being kept at all, and it's a shame.
I can reach out to the association and see what the issues may be.
Okay.
That might be a very good idea.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else have anything at this point? Yes, okay, Member Stokes.
Not related to this particular item, but with our presentations earlier, I know in the past we've had matching funds for some of the different groups. Do we have any of that this year with any of the groups that presented?
We are still reviewing the RFPs, but if
Okay.
I recall, there were a couple that had indicated matching funds.
Okay.
Some of the matching funds generate more funds, and some of the matching funds is just a requirement for them to get another grant. So there are differences, but most of them do have matching funds.
Okay, and then you might not be able to answer this one. It sounds like we did have additional funds for some of the groups to get additional funding last year. Do you anticipate us, because I saw that they requested more than we can allocate right now, which makes our job difficult. So do you anticipate potentially having additional funds?
Well, I'm optimistic
Okay.
that the grant will be more than this year.
Okay.
What we always do if we run into a situation where we have an agency that is not spending their funds or they've run into challenges and they want to give back those funds, then we allocate
Okay.
them. And that's what happened last year with
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, public comment?
No, sir, we're on agenda item number 2, which we're asking council to approve the FY20 home distribution agreement with Brevard County and authorize the mayor and staff to execute the agreement as written. Annually, the city receives a home investment partnership, home grant funds, through the Brevard County Home Consortium, which consists of Brevard County, the cities of Cocoa, Melbourne, Palm Bay, and Titusville. HUD regulations require Brevard County to enter into a disbursement agreement with each consortium member to manage and expand the home funds. The FY20 distribution agreement states that the methods and the amounts of the funds to be reimbursed to the city for various housing programs between October 1st, 2019 and September 30th, 2020. The agreement includes FY20 allocation of $112,628.92 and a carryover of unexpended funds of $392,919.42 for a grant total of $505,548.34 covered under the agreement. Staff has reviewed the agreement and concurs with the amounts stated and the conditions of the grant. Staff is seeking council's approval to accept the funds and authorization to execute the agreement and for the mayor and staff to execute the agreement as written. And Ms. Franklin's available to answer any questions that you may have. This is an actionable item for you to approve this.
Any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion to the effect given.
Move to approve fiscal year 2020 home disbursement agreement with Brevard County and authorize the mayor and staff to execute the agreement as written.
Second.
I have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign, passes unanimously.
Yes, sir, your final agenda item is public comment. This is as this is a special meeting, comments from the public present must relate directly to the agenda items posted.
Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak specific to what we talked about today?
My name is Stan Johnston. I'm a resident of Titusville since 1971, and a former employee of the city since retired in 2008. And
Could you speak up a little bit, sir?
okay, yes, I'm here to. I object to this meeting for a number of reasons, and I want to thank our Constitution that allows me to the freedom of speech to criticize our government, and you know that I'm criticizing our government. This is the
Sir,
sign
that
that I
has
have in the
nothing to
back.
do with this meeting.
I beg your pardon?
That has nothing to do with this
It
meeting.
absolutely does, because what I object is the city of Titusville, especially our mayor, Mayor Johnson, and our city manager have demonstrated dishonesty, nonsense, and extreme prejudice on city matters, including our city budget, which completely neglects some of city's important needs. I find Mr. Larice and Mr. Johnson to be...
Excuse me.
Just
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
The instructions were any comments needed to be related to the CDBG grants, home program, not extraneous matters. So I would ask the mayor to instruct Mr. Johnson to limit his remarks to those items.
I have done that. You have heard from an attorney now as to what the rules are. And will you please sit down, sir? You're
taking my
out of-
time. I
you're out of
haven't
order.
mentioned anything about aging matters. I haven't mentioned anything about roads that I plan to talk about. And you've taken a good bit of my time. I would like you to back up the clock to give me my appropriate
I would
time.
like you to sit down.
I know you want me to sit down. And that's why I was thankful for the Constitution that gives me the liberty to criticize our government
Excuse me,
and
I'm
your
gonna
decisions
recognize
making.
the city attorney.
That's correct. Mr. Johnson, if you have comments, they should be related. So you mentioned you had comments about aging matters and agenda items.
Yes, I
That would be
do.
appropriate.
Pardon?
That would be appropriate to this meeting as long as they're
Yes.
related to this agenda.
I'm getting to that. And in other words, when I'm talking about budget items, I'm talking about decision making. Now, I'm certainly requesting that I'm allowed to have 3 minutes. I certainly don't have 3 minutes with all these interruptions.
You're
So I'm
supposed
asking
to
to back
speak
up.
on the matter, however. I'll give you the time, but speak germane to what's on this agenda. Start his time, please, right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So first of all, I'm saying is that the city of Titusville has shown extreme prejudice towards me. I am certainly looking forward to your approving aging matters, which I also had, and I also want to mention about the CDBG program, which has helped our unpaved roads. But the dishonesty, your ability to make decisions on this matter, on all these matters on the CDBG, very much is affected by your irresponsibility. And what I've seen is irresponsibility, and that you're not making worthwhile decisions for our community, including items of this meeting. I requested your resignation, and I've requested resignation of our city manager for cause, and soon thereafter I was illegally removed from the speaking podium without notice from the mayor, who was in charge of the meeting. I successfully sued the city to redo the agenda items of that meeting. City lost this, and city paid my attorney fees. Please note that the only explanation for my removal, as delivered as delivered by our honorable city manager, was that my removal was for police matters, which is certainly not very much of an explanation. As you are aware, our city manager and our mayor have fabricated a malicious, false story that the city paid $70,000 for an engineering report that allegedly reviewed my correspondence to the city from 2012 to 2019. Well, it doesn't exist. The report doesn't exist. And for this fraud and extreme prejudice, I have requested the resignation of our Mayor Johnson. So this malicious fraud is also supported by other council members, and it's supported through a code of silence, closed-door policy, refusal to discuss this matter, and any matter that I bring before council. Now, regarding the roads, I have worked on the roads. I was hired for the city to work on the roads. I worked on roads and many other projects, including site plan. So this is a very good project to do because we need our roads repaved, and it's something that we should be budgeting for repeatedly, just as we've done for the last, I guess it's been 2008. It's been over about 20 years now. So I'm hopeful that will
Your
continue.
time is up, sir.
I'm
Please sit down.
requesting 5
Your
more
time
minutes.
is up, sir. Please sit down.
I can make a request for more time, can't I?
No. Oh, you can make a request, certainly.
Okay, then
And you
let
know
me
what
do that.
results you'll get.
Okay, I'm requesting 5 more minutes, no, 3 more minutes to continue this.
Does anybody make that motion? I see nobody doing it, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry we had to put you through this. This is a constant situation for us, unfortunately. Mr. Johnston received the information several times and determined that's not what he wants, but it is the information he requested, so it's unfortunate. With that, is there any other comments from anyone? Okay, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.
By the state of Florida and